Hey guys, my name is John. This is my garage, and man, has 2020 been a weird year. But here's one of the cool parts about 2020. I was able to build my garage, and we're going to show you in future episodes different projects that we're doing in the garage. And I've got an exciting one in there right now. In fact, it's the reason we built the garage. Let's go inside and check it out. As the door goes up, you're going to see a 1941 Willys MB, and I'm going to walk you around it and tell you a story about how it came to be. Let's go check it out. All right, this is Bruce Willis, the nickname I've given to the 41 Willys MB. That's our project in John's garage. How did I get Bruce? He actually came out of the woods. A family friend of mine knew that I was looking for one, and he had a guy in his family that collected old vehicles. And this one had been sitting, we think, since the late 50s in this junkyard. And I'm going to show you some features that are very unique to this Willys that I think are kind of cool. We're going to start on the front of it. As you can tell, it is an early Willys because of the slat grill. Behind this mesh, it does have just the welded grill, not the stamped grill of the later models. A couple other neat features that are unique to this one is you'll see an extended front frame rail, because the old guy had a chrome bumper added to the front so he could push things around his junkyard. So that's why those are extended. And there's evidence of some turn signals at one point that were added because it was street driven. And I'll show you how we knew that in a little bit later in the show. While we're on the front of the vehicle, I want to go ahead and crack the hood. A couple of neat features about it. It does have the pivoting headlamps that were unique to the old Willises, so you could see under the hood at night and work on it. Love that feature. But most importantly, it does not have the Go Devil 4-cylinder engine. The reason why the Go Devil is missing is because the man that worked with this vehicle in the junkyard needed more power. And it was very common back in the 50s to take a Studebaker engine, just like the Studebaker Champion, and bolt it into the Willys MB. Why would you do that? 60 more horsepower is the answer. So that's what he did. So it does have a 6-cylinder motor in it and a lot of owner adaptations to make that engine work. So that's kind of neat. I think we're going to keep that motor in it because it's a good conversation. Working around the Jeep, you'll see that it does have the original war markings on it. USA can be seen on the hood. It has the W before the serial number, which is another early feature. Of course, the flat fenders that all of the MBs had. You have your shovel locator here, which is kind of neat, one single mirror. But then I love the star on both quarter panels. You can still see the 5-point star poking out of the paint. It does have new wheels and tires. We've bolted on there so it's easier to move around. Now, I mentioned earlier that we think it was street driven. And the reason why we are pretty confident of that is because it had license plates bolted to it. And this guy, Mr. Peer, he would actually, on all of his vehicles in the junkyard that he drove, he would layer the license plates each year when you got a new one. Now, this is really strange, but back in the day, you got a new license plate every year, not just a sticker to put on your existing plate. And it looks like this one was first driven on the street in 1952. And then when we picked up the Jeep, on the very top of the layers was a 1957 plate. So we could just surmise that it was driven 52 to 57 on the street. Then we think it was converted to the junkyard dog, as I call it. Evidence of the junkyard dog are these features on the back, a big old heavy step bumper, these uprights. The family tells me that it actually had a boom on the back, and it was a tow truck. And he would tow things through the junkyard using the Willys. Speaking of Willys, on the very back, it is stamped with Willys on the very back panel, which is a very prominent feature of the early Willys MBs. In later editions, the government required that to be removed. So Ford or Willys could not stamp that. They wanted it to just be a government issued vehicle. Moving on around, you'll see that it has a lot of limbs and debris and parts because it's been sitting in the woods. We actually went and saw this Jeep for the first time on Memorial Weekend 2018. And I've got an image I'm going to show you in the video of what it looked like as it sat. And we think it sat in that spot for at least maybe 20 to 30 years. And then Labor Day that same year, 2018, we actually went and retrieved it. And it did not want to move at first. I think the brakes were locked up, the differentials were locked up, but we broke all that loose, towed it out of the woods, and went and put it in storage. And then today, it's in this garage on December 23rd, 2020, because it was issued to the government on December 23rd, 1941. So 79 years ago, it was born. Now you might say, that looks like it's in great shape. Well, these are reproductions. You'll see that the originals are missing. I do have them. They've been polished out and they're in a display case that stays in my office. And this is the reproduction plates that will go in that spot when the restoration is complete. Right here, before we move away from the cockpit of the little Willys, very, very unusual feature right here. This is an old air conditioning compressor that is driven by the drive shaft. And we found out from the family that what Mr. Peer would do is he would plumb this to each corner of the vehicle, and he actually distributed weed killer all throughout his junkyard, driving around in the little Willys. Very, very innovative feature for sure. Don't think that's gonna stay. May just keep it as a table display, but I think that's gotta go. So, what's gonna happen with the little Willys now? Well, first step is we're gonna see if the 6-cylinder Studebaker motor will actually turn over. Maybe locked up, we're not sure, we're gonna check that out. If it does turn over, if it's not locked up, we're gonna get it running. We're gonna get it shifting, get the brakes working, and we're gonna drive it just like it sits. No cosmetic changes initially, and just have some fun with it. So stay tuned to future episodes and let's see if this little motor will run. Thanks for watching John's Garage.